You know, the one that razzled us with all its dazzle in the trailers has finally landed. To be honest, even an optimistic gamer like myself had my doubts with what appeared to be a stunning looking game, but showed signs of being void of any enjoyable to play content that we could really sink our teeth into. So now it's out, let's see how it plays. We play as Orin, an exalted knight in a strange fantasy, sci-fi, futuristic mythical world that's like King Arthur's Knights of the Round Table meets a budget Lion King afterparty off Broadway. Orin and his brother Macross have fallen out over some of the most trivial hypothetical debates imaginable, like who would win in a fight between Stephen Hawking and Christopher Reeve, and now they've started a full-on war!
Round 1, fight!
To be honest, I don't actually know what they're arguing about really, and the story makes very little effort to make it interesting or explain it. Let's start with the combat, which is the best part of this game, but that by no means makes it a good or engaging experience, because even the best part of this game has some glaring issues that are impossible to ignore. There are elements that are passable, but that's mostly the animations. The variety of weaponry at your disposal includes long swords, great swords, dual swords, pork swords, pole arms and warhammers, and all do a decent job of being distinctive in their feel and how they are handled by the player. The explosions of colour throughout battles are really pleasing on the eye, and the particle effects of seeing an enemy obliterated into colourful sherbet dust is extremely satisfying. Combat lock-on and the auto-aim mechanic feels broken, so I turned both of them off, which drastically improved the feel of the combat, giving more freedom to Orin's movements. The parry timing window is very generous, certainly compared to any From Software games, but Godfall punishes you in other ways, and not in a deserving fair is fair kind of way either. Some moments in a fight leave you feeling absolutely beastly with big booming audio effects and really cool animations like I said before, but the camera angle is just wrong, it sucks. It's geared more for one-on-one battles, but you're often surrounded by 4 or 5 enemies, and I was unable to see any of them other than the ones directly in front of me. The camera really needs pulling back a bit to expand the scope of the player's vision. The overall combat is a little too easy, and getting hit is through no lack of skill or poorly timed dodging or parrying. There's an input queue, which basically means once you've hit R1, which is your light attack, 4 or 5 times, and Orin must complete those 4 or 5 swings before being able to do anything else, including dodging or parrying. You could argue that this requires precise combat rather than mindlessly button bashing, but I'd argue that, irrespective, it's just not fun. If I want to parry an incoming blow and I've been quick enough and skilled enough to time it right, then I should be rewarded for my split-second decision. But instead, I'm punished for a button press a few seconds earlier. For anyone coming off Demon Souls like myself, I highly recommend playing Godfall on hard mode. Another issue I had with the combat side of things was that the bosses had checkpoints, which kind of removed the sense of accomplishment when I defeated one after dying a few times, because essentially I beat it in bite-sized chunks. I don't want to be spoon-fed then tucked into my nice cozy warm bed before my mum reads me a story. I want to be thrust into the harsh barren wilderness naked with nothing but a shitty stick to defend myself with, and forced to hunt and eat Bear Grylls himself for some sustenance, then have my peers laugh at my small shriveled junk because it's cold outside. That's some big boy gamer shit right there, mum. There's plenty of chests and strange vases dotted around the map containing various loot, but smashing vases isn't as easy as it should be, and picking up the loot they spit out requires backtracking. The loot pops up into the air for a second too long, meaning you have to backtrack for it. You've already run past it, which really slows down the pace of the game. The world never remotely made me feel like I was exploring, and it's not even that small. The side paths which lead to collectibles, little bits of lore and materials for crafting never felt too difficult to find, and removed any motivation I would normally have to search every nook and cranny. Sprinting between battles felt like huge barren periods of emptiness, and the gameplay loop rapidly becomes repetitive. Constantly having to return to the same areas before even exploring the unseen areas seems the wrong way round. I understand it's a grinding game, but let me see the world before having to play the first area 6 times over to unlock the next area. The story is especially underwhelming and hugely uninspired, and it's why this game feels so hollow and empty. Gearbox have thrown us into a plot with little to no backstory to introduce and establish the world for the player and create intrigue or wonderment at what previously happened here or what will happen in this universe in the future. I think they just naively assumed that players wouldn't care about that and would be superficially dazzled by the bling bling graphics, monstrous weapons and endless amounts of loot. Well, they were wrong. All style and no substance. The aesthetic presentation is classy, but under the facade, it's just, well...
Oh, oopsie.
I genuinely believe that a half-decent story could have saved this game and helped disguise some of the flaws I mentioned earlier. One example that emphasises this vacuum of narrative substance is in the boss battles, where seagulls are required to unlock the fight, but the game makes absolutely no explanation as to why you need these seagulls. It's just...
talking about them sigils again?
What? Yeah, seagulls.
Sigils! It's sigils, you idiot!
Oh, sigils! Ah, shit, my bad. So, as I was saying, for these boss battles you need to get sigils in order to unlock them, but there's no explanation as to why. It's just, yes, you need them. Yes, I know, but why, big blue-faced lady? Why do I need these sigils? You just do. It's called content, you fucking fool. Now fetch, boy. And this all too frequently reminded us that we were in a game and ejected us from any chance of immersion. The Seventh Sanctum is effectively your base to visit missions where you can tweak Orin's loadouts and craft Valor Plates. Valor Plates are your armour, and by collecting their cores and other materials throughout your journey, you can craft new ones. Each Valor Plate provides a unique passive trait, ability and augment constellation, but I never found any of the buffs they provide to actually give me a genuinely worthwhile advantage in combat. You could literally complete the game quite comfortably in your first Valor Plate, which means these are nothing more than aesthetic armours, and we know where aesthetic armour choices lead. Big old juicy microtransactions. One other thing I noticed was that certain Valor Plates grant Orin a sex change too, which is an option I'm glad they made available to the player. I'm not sure if there's anything more godly than having a penis and a vagina, and maybe immaculately conceiving with yourself. Hallelujah!
The Niak will oppose us.
They won't stop you.
Ha!
Eventually you'll unlock the Forge after freeing Goldie-faced Scrollman. With the Forge you can upgrade and enchant your weapons to higher levels as your own levels progress, similar to the previous Assassin's Creed weapon leveling system. There's a wide range of skill moves available to unlock with skill points earned as you level up. Nothing out of the ordinary, but enough to get stuck into. I had a couple of hard crashes which let me try out Sony's fantastic screenshot and video clip bug reporting system, which was arguably more fun than the game itself. At first I had a very smooth experience, but the stuttering during sharp movements, whether it be simply running or during combat, gradually got worse throughout the game. The same can be said about the frame rate, progressively getting choppier as I progressed, and by the time I reached the third and final world, the combat became borderline unplayable with all the stuttering.
Which one do you recommend? The Fujitsu or the Fuji?
Fuck you.
Overall, this game is probably best described as, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, empty and meaningless. Don't get me wrong, I had fun with the combat at times, there's still some enjoyment to be had there, but it wanes very quickly, just like my attention span at church before they bring the wine out. Taking everything we've outlined into account, the non-existent storyline, the optimization that worsens as you progress, the clear obnoxious attempt to pass this game off as being worthy of a £70 or $70 price tag with its show pony graphics and only lasting a mere 10 to 12 hours, this all amounts to one big disappointment. I think the fact that it's priced so highly is what will ultimately be the death of this game, because even if it was half the price, I still couldn't recommend it. The combat just saves this from being a goddamn, god-awful, for God's sake, God falling from heaven into a sea of pure horseshit game. And because of that, we're going to have to give Godfall a very unsatisfactory 5 out of 10. Thanks for watching, peeps. If you've enjoyed this review and appreciate that we've just saved you from blasting a load of festive beer money on this below par game, then please give the video a like and hit the subscribe button. It would be massively appreciated and would help us out so much. Hope to catch you all in the next one. Peace out!